Okay, there we go. So, yeah, as I was saying, you studying for a graphic design course, graphic design certificate? Yeah.
I'm doing bachelor's.
Bachelor's, okay. In graphic design?
Yeah.
Good, excellent. And how much work have you done so far?
Let's see. It was like my first full year, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So
What have
I've
you
done
taken? What are some of the
outside.
things? What are some of the things that you've taken?
Oh, we've done like the last class I did was the image editing, the intermediate, and that one was really fun. I like really liked it.
Now, are you working with Photoshop in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
What she showed us, like, because I'm older. I'm almost 40 years old. So I started out with photography many years ago.
Right.
And when we did Photoshop for photography, most of it was just manipulating photos. And like I had a picture of my mom and I that, like one of the old time ones at Busch Gardens, and it had like some spots on it and stuff like that. And so like they showed us how to fix that. But like she showed us some really cool things.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Good.
oh my gosh, yeah.
Have you had any Illustrator? Have you had any Illustrator courses yet?
Oh yeah, a few.
How about you guys, Eric and Francis? Have you guys had any Illustrator yet? You guys there, Eric, Francis? You know how to turn your mic on? Let's see, maybe. Oh, their mics aren't available. Hold on, sorry. Allow record. No, I don't want to record. I want to get my mic. Oh, unmute. Here we go. There we go. Okay. Eric and Francis, you are now unmuted officially. Sorry about that. You there? I don't know whether they... No, I did it. Oh, is that your dog? Good, Sherry?
That's not mine.
Okay.
Mine's a lot louder.
All right. Well, listen, let me get started then. So I'm going to start off by talking about what we're going to do this week.
Get out here. Joe, isn't it a Dan, somebody?
Uh-oh.
Come in here.
I better mute her. So, yeah. So we're going to have three things that we do this week. You probably know this to some degree already. We're going to have a discussion, and the discussion essentially will be about an artist, favorite digital artist. Now, I'm going to talk about this a little bit because I've already had two students come, and one of them asked me about whether they could do Leonardo da Vinci, and the other student actually did Jackson Pollock.
That was me.
Oh, that was you?
Yeah.
Sherry, that was you?
At first it said your favorite artist or digital artist, if you have one.
Well, we're constant. Did you get my links?
Mm-hmm.
Did they help you?
Don't know. I haven't checked my email yet today.
Oh, all right. Well, I did send you some links where you could go in and take a look at digital artists. You could look up digital graphic design, digital art, digital illustration. Any of those topics would probably bring you up a bunch of sites where you could go in and take a look at some digital artist or another. Anyway, I'm sorry that you misunderstood that, but that they have to be digital artists, vector digital imaging. This is primarily a vector illustration course or a vector design course, and we are using Illustrator. So, you know, we're going to keep it to that. So, you know that you didn't get it wrong, essentially. You just didn't get the right kind of artist. This guy, Pollock, never used digital arts, I'm sure. You know, just
Oh, no.
it was before his time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, there is one thing I do want to mention to everybody, because this is something that frequently causes problems, and I don't want problems.
Good idea.
So,
Flat surface.
Eric, are you there? Can you hear me? Hello? I don't know whether you can hear me or not.
I don't know. Somebody was talking, but
Yeah, that's why I'm going to mute him because I. All right. Well, I'm assuming he hears me.
I can
So,
hear you,
who is that?
Francis.
oh, okay.
Oh, Francis. Okay, you hear me, Francis?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me see if Eric can hear me. Eric, can you hear me? Everybody try to keep your rooms quiet. I'd like to be able to keep the mics on so that you can stop me at any time and talk to me about, anything that you would have a question about. For this to be a really good class, there should be communication going on. That's the way I feel about it. So
My dogs keep barking, so I don't want to interrupt.
what happened?
My dogs keep barking in the background.
Well, if they do, just shut your mic down if they start acting up. I took my dog and put him in the basement because he was barking just a few minutes ago, too. And the only reason I'm so fussy about it is because I'd like to have the open mics, but I also want to have a fairly clean recording. If I don't have a really good recording, then people get aggravated. So, all right, so listen, let me just get to this. This is important for you to understand. I assume every one of you have had classes here already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of know what's going on. It's not like I'm telling you something for the first time. But I just want to make sure it's absolutely clear and you understand that this week we're going to be doing one post, okay? And the discussion will be on monochromatic and analogy. I'm sorry, that's not right. It's going to be about the favorite digital artist. I'm sorry. So you know what to do about that. But what I wanted to point out to you, it's very important that you understand that by Wednesday, you should have your first post in by the end of the day Wednesday. That's to get full credit, okay? I'd like to give you full credit. The first post is due by Wednesday, 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time. And, I mean, today's Tuesday. If you feel ready to post, you post, but whatever. You will be writing these discussions. It actually will be one discussion. And what we're looking for here is approximately 150 words. And what we're also looking for is some referencing from you. It would be good to have an APA formatted citation and reference or citation and or reference. One way or the other, it's good to do this. You got to get used to doing these things. When you guys do research on something, it's always a good idea to have your references so that people know where you went and can check to see what, if somebody wants to go, for instance, and take a look at what you researched so that they can get some ideas on it. So please be sure to do that. And the other thing is we would like two separate replies to students, and they should be on separate days. Now, the reason that they're making such a fuss about this is because you don't have to spend so much time making a reply. But it's just the idea that it shows that you're interested in the course. By coming in and doing this on 2-3 days, it shows that you're willing to come in and spend a little bit of time to do a little bit of work for your credits. So that's really what it's all about. Now, the other thing is you all know you got the daily checkpoints, right? Everybody knows you got them. You guys taking care of your daily checkpoints?
Yeah.
So when you come in to do your daily checkpoints, that's a perfect time to just go in, take a look at some of the posts, and write a reply to somebody. When you do write a reply, please try to write something that makes sense and that is substantive. You don't want to just go in and say, yeah, I agree with you, nice job, that kind of a thing. Go in and participate in the discussion. See if you can lead it to a question so that you can kind of move things along, okay? Any questions about that? Anything you want to share about that? Anything you want to ask me about that?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Francis, did you have anything? Did you have something you wanted to say, or just you okay?
No, I'm okay.
All right. All right. So, I don't want to go beating that dead dog all night, but that's basically what I wanted to point out to you. It is important that you make these deadlines so that I can give you full credit, and I want to give you full credit. The other thing, too, is I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there is an abbreviated grading rubric. Did any of you notice the grading rubric in there?
I just downloaded it.
Oh, you did? Okay. Please take a look at that grading rubric because you want to understand how I go about grading. Obviously, I'm your instructor, and I want you to think of me as your client, okay? I'm going to pay you for the work that you do. I may not pay you in dollars, but I'll pay you in grade points. So put up with my nonsense because let me tell you something. When you work for somebody, have any of you done any professional graphic design work yet?
I've done a little here and there, but nothing big.
Okay. Well, if you have done any at all, you know that you basically have somebody that's paying you to do a job, and they want to know that you're doing a proper job, and usually they want some manner of input into it. So, you know, and I've been doing this work since, believe it or not, 1971. So I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and I currently am working at a place where I do graphic design 3 days a week. So I do this all the time, and I have people all the time that are inputting stuff constantly. And it's a constant negotiation with people to try to convince them where they're wrong, accept where they're right, make modifications. It's just the way this whole business is. So I don't want you to feel upset about it. And again, I'm the instructor. I'm going to look at your work, and I'm going to try to give you fair and honest criticism about what you do. Okay? So the first assignment is that you're going to work with your pen tool and drawing tools. Wait a minute now. Yeah, this is right. Pen tool and drawing tools in Illustrator. And you're going to basically develop logos for two companies. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about logos tonight. Are you guys, do you know much about logos? Have you done any studying of logos or anything about them on your own, or have you had any other classes where you've worked on logos?
Yeah.
A logo and identity design.
In which one?
Logo and identity design.
Oh, okay, identity design. Yeah, I know the course. I know that course. Was it a logo that you had to create, or was it something they gave you to modify?
I think we had to create it, but she gave us like a couple of different companies.
Okay.
And then we had to create a logo for them.
Yeah.
But it couldn't be anything near like what it original one was. So, like,
Well,
couldn't even be the same color.
That's sort of what you're doing here.
Yeah, we had to redesign a logo and then also make a logo for ourselves, like the Black Financial.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys have the InDesign course where you had the aqua excursions? Did you guys do that yet?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's like a 100 class, I think.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Okay. Well, you didn't have to create the logo, but you had to do versions of the logo, I assume, in CMYK and RGB.
Yep.
Do you remember that at all?
In packaging class, we had to make logos too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I actually have that logo, the Aqua Excursions logo, because one of the things that I want to show you and talk about is the fact that there are two different ways that you would utilize a logo. And one of them would be four-color product. Well, there's actually three. One of them would be for web design. But there's actually two ways that you have to concern yourself with, and one of them is Pantone or spot color, and the other would be CMYK four-color process. Do you guys know anything about those two different types of printing environments? Have you had any classes that talked about that?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, so it'll be somewhat familiar when I show you that. I don't plan on going through a lot of it, but I just want to briefly show you some introductory things about Adobe Illustrator. That's what I'm really about tonight. So Eric and Francis and Sherry, you guys said that you do have some experience with Illustrator, right? Oh, we got another one here. That's good. Melissa's here too. Good. So
Yes, this would be my first, my second class that focuses on Illustrator, but other classes we've had to use Illustrator.
okay, good. Are any of you like complete neophytes to it, or do you guys have some knowledge of it?
Have some knowledge.
A little bit?
I think
Yeah.
everyone should have
Good. Excellent.
knowledge.
It's a really good program. It's a very important program. I definitely recommend that you learn it. And I love it. I really am very happy when I get the opportunity to do things in Adobe Illustrator, because it is quite a fun application to work in. I really enjoy it. And the other thing about it is the artwork that you create in the program is so incredibly flexible. I mean, you can make things as big as you want, as small as you want, as many times as you want, where you cannot really do that in Adobe Photoshop. The images that you create are resolution dependent and limited to the size of their original. You can usually not make them much bigger than what they are. You can make them smaller, but that's not the same as Illustrator, where you can make things as big as you want and as small as you want. And to be honest with you, you can do some pretty sophisticated artwork in Adobe Illustrator. So it's a very good program. So that's it. Basically, we're going to do that. The assessment, after completing week 1 assignment, we're going to have another discussion, apparently. You're going to present your work to your fellow students. So essentially what you're going to do, and I assume you all know how to do this from past courses, right? Where you put items in and then put them into your discussion posts. Have all of you done that? You'll have no trouble doing that, right?
Yes, we've done
Like
that.
embedding?
What?
Embedding the image
Yeah, just like
into the discussion post?
yeah, like a JPEG. You make a JPEG and then you put it into your discussion post.
Yeah,
You know how to do it?
Yes.
I do.
Okay. All right. So that's what you're going to ultimately do. And then what you're going to do is critique each other. That's essentially what it is. But again, you can get all that information, obviously, from the course. I just wanted to touch on it a little bit, so we had a little bit of discussion on. The most thing I'm concerned about is that you understand your first and primary discussion and how that works. Secondary discussion is a little bit different. It's not, I'm not going to grade you the same way. What I'm going to grade you on is your work, and I'm going to grade you on your discussion, but the primary discussion, I need you to follow the rules to the letter so I can give you the credit, okay?
Okay.
All right, now I just got one very quick thing that I want to show you right here. You have a learning coach beside myself. You have a learning coach, Misty Porch. Now, I don't know, do any of you know who that is?
Yeah.
You know her?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. She will be your assistant, essentially. I just got this. I haven't got it up online yet. So what I would do later on tonight, after the course tonight, I'm going to upload this and put it in announcements. And after the film that we record, the recording processes tonight, I will also be putting that up online. So hopefully by tomorrow morning, you'll have access to both of these things, okay? I just want to show you that, to let you know that it's there, but you will have it in your announcements. Has everybody gone in and checked the announcements?
Yep.
Any questions about any of the stuff that I put in there that you want to ask me?
I don't think so.
No, you're good?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay. Any questions at all? Your guys are basically okay so far?
So far, so good.
Good. All right. What I want to do is I want to start off by talking about logos and the different types of logos that there are. I think it's kind of important that if we're going to be working with logos, you should learn a little bit about logos. I've been studying logos and doing logos for a very long time as part of the work that I do. And I've researched quite a bit about them, so I feel very comfortable with working with them, and I know the variations. So there are basically 5 types of logo. The well-designed logo is a visual representation of a company or a brand's value, beliefs, and functions. Well-designed logo can create loyal followers through simplicity and memorability. When designing your logo, you need to make sure it will represent the business the right way. So what that means essentially is that you need to think about who or what you're designing the logo for. And you should try to create something that would be appropriate for that particular product, service, or company. I mean, that's pretty logical, but it's worth really understanding, you know. And a logo is something that should be very timely. We'll talk about this later on as we go through here. Should be very timely. Well-designed logo can create loyal followership through simplicity and memorability. I'm sure all of you have heard the phrase, less is more. or keep it simple. You've heard these things. This really is a very important thing for you to think about when you create a logo. A lot of times people think that logos should be these outlandish things. And, you know, there are times when something could be quite outlandish and work very effectively. But most of the time you're going to find that very simple, elegant, clean, and professional-looking designs that are built around a thought for a particular company or service is a much better way to go. And that's what I encourage you to do. There are many considerations. How the logo will look on products. And that could be either a product that's for sale or a product that's a giveaway item to promote the business. How it will appear on advertising and marketing materials for the business. Then you're going to get into the different applications. Will it be Pantone? Will it be four-color process? Will it be screen printed? How will it be used? How will it tie your other branding collateral together? The thought and emotion someone feels when they see your logo. Certain colors, shapes, styles, and words all trigger emotional responses, which will translate into an emotional response to your business. Well, you guys are in a 300-level course here now, so you would have been through the 100-level courses where we did color, right? You had color courses, and you remember we were talking about color and emotional responses to color. I'm sure in one of your color courses you'll remember they talked about that, right?
Yep.
Yep. So this is where, you know, now you're beginning to think and use these principles. It's very important for you to think about the colors that you choose and match the colors that you choose with the company and what the company's doing.
Mm-hmm.
There are a number of different types of logo marks you could utilize for yourself. Here I will briefly explain the five main types of logos, and this has got a box behind it, obviously. So, okay. The first type is the symbol or the icon. This type of logo represents a company in a simple but bold manner. In most cases, the image is abstract and stylized to give visual interest. If you can, as I discuss these things, see if you can think about some logos that you might have seen recently and whether or not you can remember ones that might fit into these categories. Most companies that use this type of logo will have a very simple main logo. The human mind can easily remember a simple form, more easier than a complex form. It's best to use a simple symbol or icon if you plan on building a large business. One of the reasons that you might want to do this is because you want something that will last for a very long time. Coca-Cola is a good example of that. They've used the same basic type pretty much through the course of their not career, but their life as a company and as a product, opposing Pepsi, where Pepsi has changed many, many, many times. I don't know whether you know much about sodas or not, but Coca-Cola, if you take a look at Coca-Cola, there's that classic red and white look, and that type has never changed. It's always basically been the same. Mm-hmm. You'll go and look at Pepsi, and you could probably look at Pepsi from the 50s, the 60s, whenever it first started, right on through to today, and you're going to find that every couple of years they're changing things. So there's totally different approaches going on here. And I would imagine that Coke probably has the lead because it's so consistent and solid. But I could be wrong.
The Nike swoosh, too.
Absolutely. That's something that, you know, and we'll talk about that as we go along. Here are some graphics that I put in here for you. You probably recognize symbol logos like Apple, Shell, and Mercedes-Benz. That Shell is probably no longer really used, but the idea is to take a look at the symbols that are used to represent the company. Apple's a very good one, okay? And Mercedes is another very good one. The word mark. So this is the second one. These are uniquely styled text logos that spell out a company or brand name. Many times custom fonts are created specifically for brands to use across all their marketing and branding collateral. Big enough company with big enough pocketbooks will hire people to actually create type for their exclusive look use in the look of their branding materials. Believe me, it has been done. So, you know, that's something that requires a great deal of training and skill to create this. I mean, when I went to college, I had one of the professors there wanted me to come in the worst way and take calligraphy, and I just wasn't interested in all. I didn't go in and do it. I kind of regret it in a way. And the guy was a nice guy too, but I just you know, I was into something completely different. I was into graphic design. I went to a fine arts school, you know, and they had like you know, mostly fine art stuff. But they did have one series of courses for graphic design that were absolutely sensational. I did manage to get those courses, and we had some really big instructors that taught us there. It was amazing. So anyway, the word mark. Here we go with the word mark. Some examples include Facebook, Disney, Sony. Disney probably is the one that I think would stick in your mind most of all. And you could see that was a completely designed logo. The other two, while they might be designed, they could very easily be a particular face. I suspect they were probably designed, but you got one that's essentially just a sans serif face, the Facebook, the serif face for the Sony. Whereas you got this very fancy script kind of face, handwritten, calligraphed Disney. So that's essentially what you're talking about when you're talking about a word mark. So now you know symbols and you know word mark. Remember, there's 5. The letter mark. Letter marks are exclusively typographic. They use a symbol representing the company through the use of its initial or the brand's first letter. Many companies choose this type of logo design because their initials better graphically illustrate the company and than the full name would. Here are examples of that. Some companies and organizations that use letter marks include Hewlett-Packard. I know you've seen that one, right? And the other one is Chanel. I'm sure you've seen that one as well. And General Electric, they've had that on TV many times. So these 3 you should be very familiar with. These are letter marks. Now, actually, they almost this one here and this one here almost become combination marks. The reason I say that is because whereas Chanel is just 2 C's that interlock, that is what I call a true letter mark, where you've taken 2 letters exclusively. But here you've got GE, but then you've also got this device that wraps around GE. So it almost becomes a combination mark. We'll talk about them shortly. And it's the same with Hewlett-Packard. The HP packs in very nicely, but is sort of wrapped around this shape, which sort of looks like a screen. See what I mean? So I would call them more of a combination mark than a true letter mark. And now we're at the combination mark. This is your next one. The combination mark combines the word mark with a symbol or icon to give flexibility for the use of either or both elements across a variety of applications. Now, this is something that you need to know. When a designer will create a combination mark, the designer and the company will decide ultimately if the combination mark can be used as separate elements or whether they must be placed together. Sometimes you'll find, like I think Scott mentioned earlier, Nike. And Nike has type that goes with the mark. But very often you'll see the Nike swoosh just being used without the type. Am I right? Have you ever seen that, Scott?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, and sometimes there are other companies that will never allow those 2 to be separated. They need to have both of those together to form the solidity of their mark. Well-designed combination mark would work just as well with the elements separate as it does to get with them together. However, again, as I say, company would decide whether that would happen or not. These are combination marks. Hawaiian Airlines, which I don't think I've seen too often. Adidas is a very common one. Sprint's another one that's very common. So you see what they do basically is they come up with very simple abstract shapes, and they sort of use those abstract shapes to carry them along. The Hawaiian is a little bit more elaborate and illustrative, where the other two, I would say, are just very sort of corporate-y, graphic-y looking kind of. What do you think?
Yep. No, they're abstract. Adidas and Sprinter.
But you've seen them. The emblem. This is the fifth one. An emblem logo encases the company name within the design. Emblems are interesting. Here are some emblems. Starbucks is probably the most common. I'm sure you also are familiar with the NFL, and I'm sure you're also familiar with the Harley-Davidson motorcycles. These are emblems, and I would imagine that every single one of you, tell me if I'm wrong, I'm sure at this point, now that you've seen all these things, you could probably think to others that you've seen.
Oh, yeah.
So it's important for you to understand, since you're going to be working on a logo, that you have a number of really powerful options that you can consider when you do this. And that's what I want you to do, because again, what does a designer do? A designer learns the things that he or she needs to know to function as a designer, and then sits down and makes decisions based on what they know and what they think would be the appropriate approach for any particular customer. Most of the time that happens with direct interface with the customer. In other words, you would be sitting down and you would be having meetings and brainstorm sessions where you would come together with some ideas and some possible, but the key is that the designer would know more about the different types of logo possibilities than the customer. And it would be their job to be the ones that kind of drive them to the point where they get what they need. Does that make sense to you?
Yep, that's why they're hiring us, because we're the expert.
That's right. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to, in as simple a way as I can, make sure that you understand clearly what your options are. Now, I don't know whether any of you want this or not, but if any of you want me to, I'd be happy to put this into an announcement for you. Would anybody be interested in having this?
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay, well, I will make sure that when I put up Misty's,
Information.
Yeah, information, I'll upload a copy of this PDF for you. Again, it's probably just good to have as reference. I mean, you can find this online. And actually, if I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong because I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but I think they only mentioned 3 different types of logos in the course, and
Yep.
there's actually 5. There's actually 5, and here they are.
The first 3.
I didn't invent these. I mean, they're there, and that's what they are. And I want you to know this as complete as I can make this.
Yeah, and in the logo design class, they said things similar but a little bit different. Like they called the combination logo, they called it an icon logo.
Okay.
And they skipped over the last one.
The emblem.
Emblem. Yeah.
We only had 3.
A lot of times people don't think of emblems. They just don't think of emblems because emblems, I mean, sort of suggest something completely different. But it is, in fact, a logo. I mean, it is a logo, essentially. I mean, you can. I'll go back to the slide. Look at. I mean, there's Starbucks, NFL, Harley Davidson. All 3 of those are logos, and they are used as logos. So but they are clearly emblems, and that's the feel and the look for these things. So you have to kind of decide where you want to employ each one of these. I don't have any idea what you guys are going to choose for your customer, or actually your customers. I believe you got to do 2. So I have no idea what you're going to choose for your customer, but you might consider in your choices, as you're making your choices, what direction you're going to take the logo in.
I'd like to do an emblem because I haven't done one of those before in the past.
Yeah. Well, they can be everything. Let me tell you something. Logo design is challenging, period. It's challenging. It is not as easy as you think it is. It's tricky. And people, whenever I design logos, I have usually 5 or 6 stakeholders that I'm working with. When I say stakeholders, I mean different individuals within a company that have the power to say what's what in the company. They're all called stakeholders. And every single one of these guys have powerful personalities, a la Donald Trumpy. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
These are guys who think they know what they're doing, which they do. I'm not knocking them. And they all got their own ideas as to what it should be. And there are some lively debates that go on over logos. I'm going to show you some of the logos that I worked on recently, and I'm going to play around with Illustrator and show you how I can whip a logo up. One of the things that I want to talk about, and I'll get to it shortly, is I learned from extremely good designers. And one of the things that I was taught, and I live by this rule, whenever you design something, always start out doing it in black and white. Don't get right into color. Try to work your design out in black and white. I have found that every time I try to go in and work with color right off the bat, I mean, in the end it works out because I'm a graphic designer for 40 years and I got a great deal of knowledge and I kind of know how to avoid certain kinds of traps. But I find that if I work with black and white first, I almost always come up with a much stronger image. So I'm giving you a piece of advice that I've been told by many a different designer, creative director, art director, all these different people have all said the same thing. Always try to go black and white, at least until you reach the point where you develop your design. Then you can go in and you can start working your color scheme into it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What do we got here? All right, so which one will you choose? It's going to be your call. My choice would be for me to consider the logo based on the appropriateness of use for the particular business or product or service that you're working with. Also the temperament of the people and also the name, because again, you know, you're working with a name. Usually there's some sort of a name involved in this. And you have to kind of figure out how to graphically, and I use the word graphically, how do you graphically illustrate that name? I mean, that's essentially what you're doing.
Yeah. I think that's fun to do.
It's a lot of fun, but it's a very big challenge.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun, I think.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you one other thing that I want to really caution you about, and please take this one to the bank. I promise you this is real.
Okay.
Do not attempt to do a logo ever, 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 ever in anything but Adobe Illustrator. That is the kind of program that you use to create a logo. I don't care what anybody else tells you, it's not correct. Do it in Adobe Illustrator. Any kind of an illustration, any kind of a vector, or any kind of a, I shouldn't say illustration, but any kind of a logo design should be vector-based. It should be completely scalable, and it needs to be worked out in such a way that you can easily change. Because again, remember, a logo is going to be used all over the place. It might be used in a billboard. It might be used on some kind of a stamp of some sort. It might be used on a document that gets scanned through a scanner. There's all kinds of different ways that this thing is going to be used. So by doing things in black and white guarantees that if you have to generate a simple black and white version of your logo, you'll be able to.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing it in vector, you're going to be able to guarantee that if somebody comes along and says, I need a 56-inch wide logo to go on a billboard, well, in Illustrator, guess what? You can make it much bigger than that. So that's why I say, when you're doing this, go with Illustrator. That's the way to go. And in fact, what I would say to you is this. Try to become very excited about Illustrator. Try to go in and learn as much as you can about it, because it is one of these programs that as soon as you realize how important it is, it'll become very exciting to you and you'll want to learn how to work with it. And it can do incredible stuff. I promise you.
I am excited to learn more about it.
Good.
I like using it.
So choose any two business company names that you want. You decide what they are. I'm not going to apply, I'm not going to throw anything at you. You decide what you want to do. Challenge yourself as much as you feel you need to. Design any type of logo of your choosing. You have to, and what I would do is, I shouldn't really say design any type of logo of your choosing. What I should really say is design a logo appropriate for the business of your choosing. That's what you really want to do. Now, it could be a symbol, it could be a word mark, letter mark, carbo mark, emblem. You decide based on the actual business and what you think would be appropriate. And have a wrap, because our last assessment is kind of a show and tell. Also, be prepared to have at least a paragraph of 50 words that gives us an inkling into your creative thought process for these logos, right? That makes sense, doesn't it? You want to be able to tell us why you did what you did. What was your thinking? Why were you thinking this? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to submit one PDF file for me. And then you're going to do your critique. Okay, so you do your critique, and there's a grading place where you can grade. I mean, you've done this before. You're going to submit a PDF for me so I can go in and take a look at it. I will also read your assessment and participate in your assessment critiquing as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any questions about any of that?
So it could be a made-up company?
Yep, yep. It could be any company that you want. You could pretend that there is a company. Try to have some sort of a rationale for the company. Don't just come up with some whippy name and you know, what does the company do? Who are they? You know, how big are they? Think about who would be the people that would be using the company. All these things play into your thinking for the way you design your logo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, really think about it. This is the hardest part of the whole thing. And it wouldn't be nearly as hard. Like I did logos for Firma, which is the company that I work for. They do flooring and they do cabinetry. So I had to develop logos for a new line of cabinetry, the Signature. And you're going to see that. I don't think I have it tonight, but tomorrow night when you come to class, I will show you some more logos. We're going to continue working on logos this week. I'm going to focus on logos this week, and we're going to play in Illustrator shortly. Yeah, but I worked on logos for Firma, and you know, some of them are good and some of them are not so good. And surprisingly enough, the one that they chose to use was the first one that I did. Now, does that mean anything? Not really. I just think sometimes designers who know what they're doing have almost like an instinct as to what they think they should do and what they think will be appropriate. And a lot of times they'll put that thought into one particular piece. And then so that it isn't too precious, having just one would be very precious. In other words, there's not any leeway to it. It's like you can't walk in the door with just one piece. That's something don't ever do. You have to have a couple of pieces. On the other hand, you don't want to walk in with 30 pieces. You might want to walk in with maybe 5 pieces. I wouldn't push it much beyond 5 unless they absolutely do not like any of the ones that you do. And believe it or not, you're going to run into people that are very hard to deal with. They have something in mind. They either have no interest in telling you what it is, which is kind of stupid, but you'd be surprised. Or they just do not have the capacity to explain it or show it. They can't even find an example to say, this is sort of what I see. They don't have the time or the mental interest to do it. So these things happen, and unfortunately, as a designer, you have to use your thinking on this. So again, as I said, I think I did about 6 or something like that, maybe 6 or 7, maybe. And they passed. They liked it initially. They passed on it. They wanted more. I gave them more, and then they sort of turned around, went in a big circle, and came right back to the first one. That's the one that they're using. So that has happened before. I've had that happen before. And I think part of the reason is because, again, I've done a lot of graphic design work, and I have done a lot of studying. One of the things that I'm going to do tonight for you is I have 2 videos that I've brought in here that I'm going to have you watch. We'll do that next. They're lynda.com videos. That's why I'm showing it to you, because most of you probably do not have access to lynda.com. And these are 2 very short videos. They're not the entire lynda.com. They're just one short video that I thought are really good for you to take a look at this point. So we're going to take a look at that next. Yeah, so, and by the way, for your assessment week 1, there's your instructions. But again, you're going to look this up online, and you're going to see what it is you have to do. You're going to basically present your roughs to the class. And this first round, they don't have to be finished. They can be kind of rough. But you want to make them, you want to develop them to a point where you don't have to do a great deal of discussion about it. You want to get them to the point where a person can look at them and understand your vision. Does that make sense to you, what I'm saying?
Yes.
In other words, they don't have to be finished tight, but they should be close enough that a person gets the real core of your idea and can say yes or no definitely to it. All right, so you discuss your design rationale along with any issues or considerations encountered along the way. You're going to find that you'll probably do some mental thinking before you actually put pen to paper or put fingers to keyboard. And what's going to happen is once you start playing with this, you're going to probably encounter some strange happenings along the way. Unexpected things occur. And it might be an unexpected good thing. It might be an unexpected bad thing. Why am I saying this? Happens to me all the time. Just because I see something in my head, and I've grown quite used to visualizing things in my head before I put it down on paper or on the monitor, just because I think something doesn't necessarily mean when I go to do it, it's going to work the way I want it to work. So we want to know about these things. Any techniques you found necessary in achieving your design. When you start working with this, you know, if you did something interesting or unusual to arrive at some sort of a look, we'd like to know about it. Remember, this is a discussion, and all involved will benefit from the exchange of ideas and critique. Everything that we're going to do for the next 4 weeks is part of your learning, part of your training. I hope to make you better by the time you get done with these 4 weeks. I think we could probably do that. We don't have to be geniuses. We just have to be better. Right?
Right.
Yep.
Okay. So you're going to start including JPEGs files into your posting visualization. You are designers and are visually directed. Show the class your work. Let me tell you something. You're in a level. How many? You guys have more classes yet, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
By now, you guys are closer to being designers than you were when you were in a level 100 course. So at this point, you should be doing things a lot better and a lot more sophisticated than you were doing in the 100 level course. You should be including pictures. You should be coming up with visualizations. These are things that you should be doing just because you're better designers. You're thinking as designers. And designers think visually. So it's absolutely essential for visualization. If you don't create something on your own, if there's nothing wrong with grabbing something online and showing it, saying, you know, I looked at this and this sort of fit into what we're doing with here, blah, blah, blah. You know, you get the general idea what I mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's it for my PowerPoint. Any questions or any comments about it? We done? You're good?
Yep. Good.
All right. So let's move on to the next thing. Close this out. And again, as I say, if you like, I'll be happy to put that online for you. Lynda.com. Are you guys familiar with Lynda.com?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I definitely think that at some point in your near future, you should subscribe to become a member of Lynda.com. I'm a member of lynda.com, and I'm an instructor, and I know an awful lot about all these programs. But I will tell you, there are very talented people that teach in lynda.com. And there are oftentimes when I have to do something that I haven't done in a very long time, and I have like sort of like little brain burps where I can't remember certain things, and I'll go into lynda.com and I'll know exactly where to go to find what I'm looking for, and I'll watch I don't know, maybe a 10-minute video, and I'll remember. It'll help me to jog my memory to what it is that I'm working on, and then I can go back in and boom, I'm ready to go. So I recommend it. And the other thing too is that there's a tremendous amount of different video courses that are in here that will help you once you get used to the idea of it. And the other thing too is make sure you got all the software that you're going to be using, because you're going to want to play around as you watch lynda.com, these videos. What I generally do is I'll watch one of their chapters, and after the chapter I'll stop and I'll go in and I'll tinker around with the program that if it's Illustrator or whatever, I'll go in and I'll do some of the things, and then if I get in there and I feel like I'm not comfortable with it, I'll go back in and watch it again, then go back in and do it again. I do it this way. I subscribe, but I subscribe for the low end one. It's like $200 a year is what I pay. I do not get the training files, because I don't need the training files. I'll make my own files. I just am interested in the information. That's what I'm looking for. And that's what I suggest that you use to look for it, okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Everything in a logo must be simple and evident. A great logo needs no explanation. While there are many examples of successful logos that break the rules, in general, a good logo should be simple. It should be comprised of only the most essential elements so that it can be remembered after just one glance. Take a look at these logos. Logos we see every day and relate to immediately. See how simple they are. It's not easy being that simple. Or to quote Paul Rand, who designed some of the world's most enduring logos, design is so simple, that's why it's so complicated. To keep our logos simple and instantly recognizable, what we leave out is as important as what we include. A good logo should complement the company name. This means researching historical and symbolic associations of the company name and using appropriate imagery for the line of business. A good logo should look good in black and white, as well as in color. This may not be as important as it once was, since some logos are intended only for screen. That said, if a logo looks as good in black and white as it does in color, the contrast will emphasize the shape or idea. A good logo should be scalable. A logo needs to work at a number of different sizes. Business cards and websites, T-shirts, brochures, banners, vehicles, billboards, etc. Make a list of all the uses of the logo and consider how such uses might affect its legibility. And lastly, a good logo must be original. With so many logos in the world, we need to be vigilant that we don't inadvertently design something that looks like something else.
That's one to really be careful of.
Before you begin designing your logo, there are important questions to ask your client, the answers to which will help you determine their needs. What is the scope of the job? Is it a single logo, a range of logos across sub-brands, or a whole branding exercise? Will you be designing a new logo or redesigning an existing logo? If you're designing from scratch, the process is simpler because there's no brand equity to consider. If it's a redesign, what is it about the existing logo that your client wants to change? And what, if anything, do they want to keep? Consider the company name. Why did they choose their company name, and what does that name evoke? Generally speaking, the shorter the name, the better. You don't have to use the full legal name in the logo. And there are many precedents for this. Apple Computer becomes Apple. Adobe Systems becomes Adobe. Who is the customer or target audience? And crucially, How does the company currently engage with that audience? What kind of personality does the business project? A logo should evoke the essence of a company. In order to define what that essence is, sit down with your client and draw up a list of adjectives that they feel define or that they would like to define their business. Certain types of businesses will commonly want to project certain personality traits. Here are some examples. A computer programmer would be technical. A graphic designer, creative. A bank, solid. A coffee shop, friendly. A plumber, competent. A hospice, caring. And an architect, modern, etc., etc. Who is the competition? And how does the company see themselves as distinct from that competition? Look at the logos of competitors. Are there common themes? Are there certain design cliches that you'll want to avoid? While you should be aware, perhaps even be inspired by your competitors' logos, you don't want to be overly influenced by them. And lastly, what is the deadline and the elephant in the room? What is the budget? Underpinning every good logo is a good idea. Here are 3 methods for generating ideas. Mind maps help you consider different design directions. A mind map is nothing more than a straightforward process of word association. You write a word that's central to the design brief, and then branch out from it, writing other words that spring to mind. You end up with a thought cloud that you can refer to when sketching. Mood boards are a handy shorthand for establishing the tone and style of a project. A mood board is made up of found content that you feel reflects the client's aesthetic. Having a mood board around while you're designing helps keep you focused on that aesthetic. Spend some time sketching your ideas. And don't worry about how they look. It's just about ideas. Keep an open mind and don't limit yourself during the sketching process. The physical process of sketching is valuable for stimulating ideas. It's quicker to sketch with pencil and paper than it is to execute an idea on the computer. And this means you can quickly sort the ideas that might work from those that clearly won't. Bypassing this step and going straight to the computer to start designing may be hard to resist. But if you do, you'll likely end up tinkering with designs that are inherently unworkable. And computers and software quickly give us results that look polished. So polished, in fact, that they make it easy for us to overlook the essential ingredient, a strong concept. Here are 6 different words which represent values that companies commonly wish to project. The typefaces I've chosen are critical in conveying that message. Technical is cool, aloof, minimalist. Friendly is rounded and approachable. Switch these typefaces and the message will be quite different. For creative, I've made a single tweak. We'll see this repeatedly, how one small adjustment, and it need only be one, can be enough to convey the message. Reliable is set in a slab serif typeface. It looks solid and dependable. This is a company you can rely on. Caring is set in a trustworthy serif typeface. The C enfolds and embraces the word. Elegant is set in a Didone style of typeface, where there's a strong contrast between the thick and thin parts of the stroke. This style of typeface is often used to convey exclusivity and sophistication. Try this yourself. Try taking these words or other commonly used adjectives that convey positive qualities of certain types of business and set them in a range of typefaces. Every typeface has its own personality. It's often said that typefaces are like clothes, and as with clothes, you want to make sure you're dressed appropriately for the occasion.
Okay, and what's going to happen here is this is just going to keep going through all these. You can see I've already looked at this, but this is going to go through this entire thing here. It's 1 minute, 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes. I don't want to put you through all that. I did want to point out to you though that if I had the ability to just put this link into your course announcements and you could go to this and watch this, I would have been happy to do that. However, since this is lynda.com and you have to be a member, and you can see there I am a member, what I decided to do, what I thought would be the next best thing or the closest best thing, would be to run a little bit of it and let you watch it, and then I'm recording it. So now if you want to go back in and take a look at it again, it's in our recording. That makes sense to me. And to be honest with you, I think this was a very excellent video. This guy does a tremendous job, and he's just one of many. I got one more we'll look at here. And again, this is Nigel French. That's the same guy.
A logo is the visual representation of a company or organization. It creates recognition and helps people remember their experiences and associations with that company. Ideally, over time, it inspires affection and loyalty. Every logo has three main roles. Identification. A logo identifies a company in the marketplace. In an instant, visually symbolic way, a logo represents the company to the world. The logo may be the first thing a potential customer sees, and it needs to make a positive first impression. Distinction. An effective logo should be unique. It distinguishes the company from the competition, providing a way for customers to recognize and choose that company from other similar businesses. Communication. A logo says something about a company. This may be direct or it may be subtle, but every logo communicates a message. And a good logo communicates a positive message. It may be sophisticated, informal, solid, reliable, caring, professional, creative, etc. On the other hand, an ill-conceived logo can send the wrong message. Unprofessional, gimmicky, or dated. A logo is not a brand. A logo is one part of a company's brand identity. The brand as a whole represents more. The company's mission, its history, and how people perceive it. Along with the logo, the brand includes, amongst other things, the typefaces used throughout the company colors, the building signage, the staff uniforms, and any advertising themes. A logo is not a brand, but it is a very important, possibly the most important aspect of that brand. Everything in a logo must be simple and evident. A great logo needs no explanation. While there are many examples of successful logos that break the rules, in general, a good logo should be simple.
Yeah, this is a repeat of what we looked at.
Comprised of only the...
We looked at this. Anyway, I definitely wanted to share this with you because this guy, Nigel French, I think speaks very well. He's a clean deliverer. He delivers his message very cleanly. He uses very simple whiteboard graphics. He doesn't get all gimmicky like me. He's very simple, very clean, very direct. And as you noticed here, much of what he talked about was similar to what I talked about. So any questions about any of this? Any thoughts while we're here?
I enjoyed that. I found to be very informative and presented it very well.
Well, I got one more suggestion for you, and that is if you are really interested in this topic, what makes a good logo, the purpose of a logo. You guys are all familiar with YouTube because you're going to watch my recording on YouTube when I get done with this tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Go on YouTube and look up the purpose of a logo. Go on YouTube and look up what makes a good logo. And I guarantee you, you're going to find an assortment of free videos. Some of them will be really garbagey. Probably many of them will not be up to the standard of Nigel French here, who did a terrific job with this. But there will be a ton of them. And you can go in and kind of watch them and you know, if after you watch it for a minute, you don't like the presentation or where it's heading, you just ditch on that one and go to the next one. I do that all the time. But again, I am a member of lynda.com, and I generally go to lynda.com, and I find it incredibly helpful. Again, now you have these videos. I couldn't give you the links to them, but now they're in our recording. So you guys can go in and re-watch these things anytime you want. All right? You guys familiar with Cooler?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so one of the other things that you would probably want to do, once you start developing this, if you remember what Nigel French said, color is a very important part of the branding experience. So what I generally would do is I would come in here and I would use one of these rules or do a custom, however you want. I'm not going to get into a big demonstration of Cooler because I would imagine by now every one of you have had experience with it. Am I right? Is there anybody that's seeing this for the first time?
Nope.
Nah, I didn't think so. You like it? Do you ever use it?
Yeah.
Mm,
I did. I did just recently when I was working on the branding for Signature for Firma. I went in and I found colors that I wanted and used those colors and was very happy with them. What's nice about Cooler is it gives you the ability to generate multiple colors as opposed to you battling one color at a time, which I'm going to show you a little bit about in another logo shortly. So there's always Cooler. Again, I just want to point out to you, this is a really nice way to work. All right. I do believe that I have in your announcements a list of some links that take you to some, I don't know whether they're actually videos. There might be one or two videos in there, but I think they're at least pages like this. Let's see what I got here. Purpose of a logo, importance of a logo, designing a brand identity versus a logo. I think when I click on that, let's click on that just real quick, and it'll come up, and you'll see, yeah, see? So this is really not a video. This panel gets in my way all the time. This is not really a video, but this is an article, okay? Some of these articles are extremely good. So I've actually put some of them into your announcements for you. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you as much information as I possibly can. I only got 4 weeks with you. I'm hoping to inspire you enough to make you want to work at doing this, and I'm hoping to give you some things that make your job a little easier for you. So, any questions up to this point? No?
nope.
Moving on. Moving on. All right, now I'm going to open up Adobe Illustrator. One of the things that you see here, and again, tomorrow night, when we have our course tomorrow night, I'm going to be showing you some more logos. These are some designs that I did for Firma. If I had thought about it, I'd open up their original design so that you could see what their original design is. As I understand it, the original design was designed by an office worker. The person had no experience as a graphic designer. So, you know, and it wasn't such a horrible design. It just was not really incredibly professional. The person was a little sloppy about it, and the font he chose wasn't quite elegant enough. And, you know, he had things like stars and lines and, you know, just weird hacks that just kind of makes not a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. So I came up with these options here, and notice that I basically did all my preliminary work in black and white. And as you heard Nigel French mention earlier, and as you heard me mention earlier, it's really a very good idea to work in black and white because you want to get a sense of what the overall feeling of your design is. And the best way to do that visually is to eliminate certain things. Just go black and white so that you can look at this and see, do you like the type? Do I like the type? I'm not, you know, the color gets in the way sometimes. Black and white does not. Do I like the type? Do I like the elements? Do I need spacing arrangements? You know, there's all kinds of consideration that you can do with this. And then once you reach the point where you've actually got yourself, you've developed something, then you can come in here and you can start doing things like playing with color. And here I got a couple of colors. Okay, I got this burgundy color and I got that brown color. These are a couple of colors that I decided that I would consider working with. So now that you have something like this, it's very easy to come in and start selecting elements, and actually these are all grouped up. Maybe I can ungroup them. Let's ungroup them at one point. Object ungroup. There we go. And now if I click on this, I can come in here and I can throw red into it. And okay, so now I got a red element. What else am I going to do with this? Maybe I go with the E and the R, hold down the shift key, and let's try that in burgundy. It's not really red, it's burgundy. So I got that, and the FER, I don't know, maybe it would be better to have that black and maybe have that burgundy. You see what I'm saying? Now I'm just playing. And what I would do is I would just go in and I would start playing with these things, and I would probably get my direct selection tool because some of these are still partially grouped. Get my direct selection tool, select those and try maybe that color on that. And then maybe on this we go with the red. And I don't know, maybe we go with the red on that as well. There's another possibility, although that light color might be a little bit weak for me. So maybe we go back to black on that. Try black there. Ain't bad. Maybe that's black. That's good. Maybe this little element here goes with that color. See what I mean? And then maybe we ended off here with burgundy. Now that's not too bad. But so you see, number one, we start off with black and white. Black and white is easy. Black and white is simple. And black and white helps you visualize an aspect of your design. But as you can see, I had some colors in mind already. And now I can bring the colors into play very quickly, and I can start taking a look at some of the possibilities that exist with this. These colors, I think, are part of the selection that I chose from Cooler. And tomorrow night, I'm going to show you some more logos that I did for this company. I'll show you tomorrow night, not the Firma. This is the Firma logos that I worked on. Tomorrow night, I'll show you the signature logos, and I'll show you the one that they chose. So that'll be what I'll be doing tomorrow night. These are the logos. Does anybody remember that logo, Aqua Excursion?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Aqua Excursion.
Yeah.
Originally, Aqua Excursion was kind of a mustardy yellow color and a burgundy, right? You remember that?
Yep.
Well, one of the things,
Color.
yeah, they were a horrible color combination and had no relation in my mind at all to Aqua Excursions. In my mind, it required some kind of a blue. So what I did was when I taught the course, I had my students change the colors. And I don't know how much you know about this, but you can very easily get some really nice colors right here. You've got all these different color books, all right? And let's go to color books. And now these are all printers' colors. Did anybody ever show you this?
Yes.
You did see it?
Yes.
Okay, the one that I think is probably the most valuable universally is the Pantone and CMYK coated. I'm going to click on that to bring that out. The reason I think that this is the most valuable one is because the colors that are in this particular book, assuming that you're working in the United States, these are spot colors, but these spot colors also directly convert to CMYK. So if you're building a business card, you can come in and you can use these colors in a spot environment, and you can convert them. Come over to Pantone logo A, and you see the difference? You see the little spots there? Those are Pantone colors. Now, if I go back to this one, Those are Pantone colors, but you see the spots gone? Do you see the little spot in the corner that's gone?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? Has anybody talked to you about this before?
No.
Yes.
No, I don't see a spot.
You don't see the little spot because it's gone. Watch, I'll come to this one. Do you see the spot?
Mm,
In the corner of the color. Do you see the little spot?
Yes.
That's a spot color.
Yeah.
Watch this. I'm going to double click, and I get my swatch options dialog box. Color type is spot. You see it?
oh,
Color type
okay.
is spot. Now, if I make the drop down open up, I can switch it over to process color and hit OK. Spot's gone.
Okay, I was looking at the logo itself, not over the palette.
No, it's the little corner button. So essentially what I'm showing you here is that if you're working on a logo, which you are going to be, and if you're going to be taking it to the next logical step, which would be to actually use it in a project, then you have to pick color for that logo. And why I'm showing you this is because I'm hoping that when you go to pick color, you'll do exactly what I did. Come over to here and go up to Color Books and come down and choose Pantone and CMYK coded. Make a note of it. Pantone and CMYK coded. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pick 1 or 2 colors out of here. No more than that. Don't get into doing all these multicolor creations. Keep your logo design to a couple of colors, 1 or 2, 3 at the max. That's even pushing it. And you can use black in your logo. You can use gray in your logo, whatever you want. But by doing Pantone CMYK coded, what you have the ability to do is to switch back and forth from spot color to process color, and the color will remain exactly true in either printing environment. So now that I've changed both of these logos to the spots gone, I know now that I have CMYK color. I can use that in a 4-color process job like a brochure or some sort of a signage that requires CMYK printing. You know, like a poster or something. If I want this to be for a multicolored job like a business card, I'm using these because they're easy examples for you to understand. All I got to do is double click on this, come back into my swatch options, change it to spot color, hit OK, do the same here, change it to spot color, hit OK, and I know those colors, if printed in the United States using CMYK process, those colors will be absolutely faithful to the colors in that color book. I don't have any problems. Now, you might want to ask your printer that you're working with, is it okay for me to use Pantone and CMYK coded? I'm sure they're going to say yes, because that's probably what they're using as well. There's also CMYK uncoded, I'm pretty sure. Let me see if I'm right about that. Let's go in here and go to Color Books. And I think there's Pantone, yeah, and CMYK uncoded. Now, what's the difference between coded and uncoded? Does anybody know?
I don't
When
remember.
I say something's coded and something's uncoded, do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Have you ever seen paper that has a shiny, smooth, like, oh, I don't know, kind of a plasticky film finish on it?
Yeah.
It's really nice. That's what's known as a coated stock. They run a coating over top of the paper. It's called coated stock. And they have certain inks that they use to print on that material. Then you have material that are uncoated. That's more like raw paper. It has a more raw paper feel. And they use a special ink for that. So that's why they have these different coated and uncoated stocks. And they have these inks that work on those stocks. So it's important for you, if you're working on a project, to actually ask your printer, what are you printing this on? You're printing it on coated paper? You're printing it on uncoated paper? You want to know these things.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
I like it when they mix the two together in a picture or a logo. I think that makes it cool look.
Oh, when they do a fountain?
Well, like what?
They call that a fountain. I think what you're talking about is where they mix the colors up and then they run it, and they call that like a split fountain. That means that they take multiple colors and they roll it out using multiple colors, and then they run it, and you get kind of like a, oh, I don't know, the look of a peacock feather.
Yeah, some parts are glossy and some parts aren't.
Yeah, they call that a fountain, split
Okay.
fountain. They do that in silk screening too.
Yeah, yep. I think that makes for a neat look.
Not for a logo, though. Any questions about any of this? It's not that difficult, but it's important for you to have some idea about it. You good?
Good.
Any questions at all, feel free to ask. That's why I gave it a mic. I want you to, ask me if you need questions answered. Do it now while you got me. Also, notice that if you're familiar with Adobe Illustrator, usually there's a whole lot of fonts in here, right? Or not a whole lot of fonts, a whole lot of colors in here, right? Do you notice that I've cleaned my colors out?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Here's the logo that I'm going to do a little bit of work on tonight. I'm going to show you how to create this logo down here. This is a logo that I designed for somebody. And I'm going to show you a little bit about how I did that. So what I wanted to show you here was, if you go back to Pantone logo, you see how my swatch palette looks? This is something that a lot of designers don't do, but I've gotten into the habit of doing it. I think it's a very good thing to do. Go to MSI, and here are my swatches. Now, as you can see, those are just the generic swatches that you get when you open a document. I'm going to go File, New, open up a document, and there you go. You see basically get the same colors. They always come out. And these are just junk colors that they put in there to give you some colors. They're really, they're not any kind of valuable to anybody. At least they're not valuable to me as a graphic designer. And I just want to point out to you that they're not incredibly valuable to you either. If you're going to be working on a project, you probably are going to want to set your own colors, right? I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this document, go back to MSI, and the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I get rid of all these colors and how I prepare myself. When I designed this to be blue and black. So what I will do here now is I want to get rid of all this first. So you know they got the drop-down menu here, right? Have you ever been in and looked at this?
Yeah.
You can come down and you can select all unused. And see what happens? All the ones that are not being used, all the colors that aren't being used get selected. Now I noticed one didn't get selected over here. Hold the Shift key down. I can maybe select it. Nope, it's not letting me. All right, well anyway, these are all selected. I come over here, hit the garbage. I delete the swatches. It asks me, do I want to delete the swatches? Absolutely. I don't want them. I don't need them. I'm not going to use them. So I hit yes. They're all gone except for this guy, which I can click and delete as well. So now I have a clean swatch palette. Generally, when I work in Adobe Illustrator, unless I'm just throwing something together real quick, I might just leave those swatches if I have to throw something together very quickly. But if I'm really working on something rather seriously, I generally do clean this out. Then what I want to do is I want to pick myself some sort of a blue color. All right, and I just wanted to be able to show you how I go about doing this. I'm not going to pick the blue that would be, I'm just going to show you how to do it. It's not like I'm going to go through the big process of determining what blue I'm going to use. I just want to do it again so that you remember. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a determination of what color I want. I know I want black. I know I want blue. So I click here. I come up to Color Books. I come down to Pantone CMYK coded because I know that I'm going to probably be using this on coded stock. Click on it. And I'm going to scroll down until I get to the blues. Somewhere in here, there's a bunch of blues. Here they come. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through here and I'm going to find some nice blue. I don't know. Let's see what we got. There's a bunch of blues in here that I kind of like. that one. I kind of like the brighter blue a little bit. It's probably pretty good. Now all you got to do is click this, and there you have your color. And I'm going to close that. Any questions? This is simple, isn't it? It's not hard. You've done it before?
Yes.
And if you want, you could put more than one blue in there, and you could kind of experiment with the blue when you get to that point. I actually think I might like the darker blue. So now I'm going to close this thing because I don't need it anymore. And what I have primarily, I have Pantone colors. That's what I get. I get Pantone colors. Remember, if I want these to go spot, I just double click, change it from process to spot, click OK, look for the little dot. Do the same here. Click on that, process to spot, hit OK. And now I got spot colors. Again, these are things that I doubt very much any of the other instructors have shown you. Am I right? Has anybody shown you this before?
No.
No.
All right, so now what I got is I got my colors. Now I got my logo down here, and I'm just showing you this for final effect. So I got some elements here that I'm going to use. This is nothing more than text. This is just basically MSI, and the font that I used, it doesn't show you. I don't know why it's not showing you. Oh, it's because I got the wrong, maybe that. No, it's not showing you. Yeah, it doesn't show. I'll be darned. I guess I have to open up my window, and let's go to type character. The font that I used is Myriad Pro, and actually I'm using Myriad Pro regular with this, and I believe, nope, it's Myriad Pro Bold. I'm sorry, Myriad Pro Bold. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve these letters up. I'm going to use techniques that are common in Adobe Illustrator to modify these objects and create this look down here. So I start off by coming up with my text. MSI, I thought was needed a very, very straightforward sans serif font. And the design that I'm using, I thought would be very good with that kind of a font. So that's what Myriad Pro did for me. There are other fonts that I could use. I looked at several other fonts. I preferred MSI to be Myriad Pro. I kind of like Myriad Pro because it's one of these fonts that are very similar, so I often use Myriad Pro. So the first thing that I'm going to do now that I've got my MSI the way I want it, and again, I just created these elements because I think you know how to create a circle, right? Does anybody not know how to make a circle? You just get the circle tool, the ellipse tool, hold the shift key down and drag yourself out of circle, and instead of having a fill, you have a stroke. I mean, that I shouldn't have to show you at least, right? And this here, in case you don't know what that is, that's nothing but a stroke. You see it? And everybody knows that whenever you create an object, you can stroke it or you can fill it. Now, if you use the line segment tool, click and drag it out, you can't put a fill on that because there's no shape. It's just a line, right? So the only thing that you could do with that is put a line on it, or I mean a stroke on it. So I'm going to hit delete. So what I got here now is I got my MSI. I'm going to go to the object menu, type, and I'm going to go create outlines. So what I've done essentially now is I've taken the text and I've made them into graphic shapes. They no longer have the lines. Now they have the anchor points that make up the shape of the object. Okay, and again, this is all stuff you know how to do, I'm absolutely sure. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to see if I could come up with some way to create this effect right here. So I got these two objects, which is this line right here. I'll hold the shift key down, and I'm going to go edit copy, edit paste in place, and I'm just going to move that over. And I'm going to leave the others in their original position, although I don't really need it. I don't really need that. And I'm done with this panel, so let me get rid of that. And this I can minimize. I don't need that. Let me get that over here and out of the way. And I don't think I need this either. Okay, so now I have my circular shape, and I have my line. The next thing that I need to do is I need to change the way that line exists, that path. I don't want it to be a path. I want it to be a shape. Does anybody know how to turn a line into a shape? Can anybody tell me how to do that? No?
Nope.
I go to the object menu. I go down to path, and I go outline stroke. Object, path, outline stroke. Now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to kind of look at that line. And right now you could see that there's a line running down the middle of the path, right, with the stroke on it. When I let go of outline stroke, watch what happens. I get an object. Just like when I came up here and I clicked on this and I went type create outlines, I now have an object. So now, instead of having a path, I have a graphic shape. And now, instead of having live text, I have graphic shapes. So everything I got here are basically a series of graphic shapes, which gives me the ability to do what I want to do, which is to create this. So I got everything, these three elements together, and these two elements here, I'm going to select both. This, I don't need this. This I don't need. I can get rid of that. But this object here I want for position. So I'm going to go Object, Lock, Selection. So now I've locked that object in place, and it won't, you know, I won't be able to, it won't be an interference to me. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to turn this guy into this line. You see how that line tapers and then stays thick over here? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this, and I'm going to get the direct selection tool.
Yes.
Yeah? What? Do you have a question or a comment? I'm going to come over here, and it has anchor points. I'm going to click on this one anchor point. Oh, that's the wrong tool. I'm going to click on that anchor point right there. Now, notice that, and I'm sure you've all done this before. Now you've got this guy selected, and I'm going to up arrow this thing a few times. And did I go up? I might have actually, let me do this. Let me go the other way. I think it's the other way. Yeah, I think I went down. Let me look at it again real quick. Let's go view, fit, and window. I just want to see how I did it. I went, really can't tell. I think I went down. I think I went down. Let's do that. Okay. So with the direct selection tool, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to bring it down. Whoop, wrong way. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for right there. And I want it to go pretty small. That's probably pretty good. Go to the View menu, fit Artboard and Window. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this with the regular selection tool, and I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to walk it up until I reach the top right about there. Okay? Edit copy, edit paste in place, and then I'm going to walk this one down until I get way down to the bottom, right about there. I think that's how I did it. There we go. All right, now I got two of these guys. Now, what I want to do is I want to create a whole bunch of these in between here and here. Now, I don't exactly remember the number that I use, so I'm going to have to play with this a second to remember. But I'm going to select both of these guys just like that. Both of them are selected. See that? Go to the Object menu. I'm going to come down, and I'm going to choose Blend. And I'm going to go to Blend Options. And I have specified steps. There's 3 different ways that you could go. Smooth color, which will not work for me. Specified distance, which isn't really going to work for me either. Specified steps, which means that I'm going to program in a number of steps, and it's going to make repeats of that. I don't remember exactly how many I used. I think I'm going to try 20 because I think it was somewhere around 20. So let's see what that looks like first. I hit OK. Now this is a 2-step process. I go back up to the Object menu, I go to Blend, and I go Make. And wow, actually I hit it pretty good. That's not too bad. That's kind of what I was looking for. Okay, so you see what I did? Now, the thing that you have to understand here is have any of you guys made blends before? Have you ever made a blend before? Is this the first time you've done it?
Yep, I have.
You've made blends for a project?
Mm-hmm.
No? Well, then you learned something new tonight, right?
Yes.
That's what you're here for.
Right.
Right. So now what I'm going to do is, just so that you know, there really only exists two pieces here, the bottom piece and the top piece. The rest of these are being created by the program. They don't really fully exist. So if I took this thing and if I put it together and I used went to the window menu and go to Pathfinder, and if I did a Pathfinder command on it, like the one that I'm going to use, which is divide them all up, what would happen is the top one and the bottom would divide with the circle below. The rest of them would just disappear because they don't exist yet. Does that make any sense to you? Those in the middle are what you might call ghosts. They really don't exist yet. But I can make them exist by going up to the object menu and go expand. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand the object and the fill. And I'm going to click OK. And now you see what happens? Every one of them now becomes an object. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all this. I don't exactly remember how I did this. I'm not sure whether I broke it here. I think I broke it all together at once. That's what I'm going to try to do first. So I'm going to bring this over here and I'm going to put it in place. So I'm going to kind of place it about where it is. There we go. That's pretty good. There. Okay? So you can see where I'm heading with this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of this. You see it's all selected? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to Pathfinder and I'm going to hit divide. And what it did literally was it divided everything up. What you got here is a mess. And what I'm going to have to do now is I'm going to have to try to unmess it. So if I click this, it's grouped. You see it? It's all grouped. So what I want to do is select it, and I want to go Object, Ungroup. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start eliminating stuff. So I'm going to come over here first. I'm going to eliminate all this stuff over here. I'm going to hit Delete, and that's gone. Then I'm going to come down here very carefully. I've got to be very careful doing this, and I don't think I did it right. I got to go right in the middle, and I got to go very narrow. I'm going to come all the way down like this, and I'm going to delete all of that. Delete. Okay? And so far, so good. I got one little piece over here I missed. I think there's a couple of these little guys that I missed. That one's got to go. This one's got to go. I see this. Actually, I should zoom in on this at this point. So what I'm doing essentially is I'm throwing away a lot of the stuff that I don't want. I don't want any of this stuff. That's not really a good grab. That's a good grab. Delete that. See what I'm doing? I'm getting rid of a lot of stuff here that I don't want. That's not part of my logo design. All right, and I think there's a little bit here I got to get rid of. Yep, delete that. And I think I got to delete up in here. Yep, delete that. Good, excellent. We're working out really good. And delete that. And I got a little bit of a mess here. Delete that. Now, it's going to very quickly become difficult because now I got to kind of figure out how to delete the stuff that I want inside of here without messing up my design. So I'm getting rid of all the stuff on the outside that I can get rid of before I actually go in and start surgically playing with the inside stuff. All right, so I'm close to the point where I almost got it done. I got to go in really close on this. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to grab that.
How come the circle itself isn't getting deleted?
What circle?
The original circle.
Because the original circle is locked down.
Oh.
I can actually go Object, Unlock All, and I can delete that circle. I don't need it anymore. The circle was a guide for me. It was essentially just something that I used to help me figure out where I was going. Now I'm going to try to see if I can start getting rid of the pieces that I want. This is where it gets tricky. So I know that I want to get rid of that one. Hold down the Shift key, get rid of that one. I hope I do this right. Get rid of that one. And let's see, is there any more over there? Hold on. Whoops, wrong way. And that's it. No, let's go view, zoom out a bit. Actually, I want to zoom in. You know what? Let me get this out of the way, and let me make this a little bit bigger. All right, and get this out of the way. I don't need that anymore. Okay, so that's not the right one. See, there's the right one. So it's this one. I think it goes big. Shift, it goes smaller, and it goes smaller. That's the one that I want. See how tricky this is? Hit delete. Okay, and then I'm going to come up to the next one. This is really not. It's very hard. There, 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 delete. See what it does? This is really, really a pain in the butt to do this. It's not easy because you have to really figure out where you're going with this. That's the big one. That's the small one. Shift, select that one, and that one, delete. I hope I'm doing this right. I think I am. I think I'm getting it right.
It could have been easier if maybe if you made the lines a different color.
No, because what will happen is essentially the color will go back. You can't do that. You can't do that because when you divide these up, it just takes on one color. So it's not the easiest thing to do. That's what I want. I want that, that, and that. There we go. Delete. Now, if I know what you're right, but it wouldn't work that way.
Okay.
There. Delete. Okay. I don't know what. There's a little piece of something over here that I guess maybe it's just a bad piece. Oh, I can get rid of that later on. I'm going to go to the view menu so you can see this. Go view, fit, artboard, and window. Can you see what's happening? By the time I get done with this, it is going to end up looking just like that. And then what I could do is I could go in and I could try to select all these colors in here and I could make them blue. But that's essentially how I went about making that logo. And you can see that doing something like this takes some imagination and it takes a little bit of time and effort to do it. I'm not saying that, you need to do that for your logo. I'm just trying to show you what you're capable of doing in Adobe Illustrator. That's really what this is all about. Give you an idea what you can do with it. And I got a couple of issues with this. I have to fix them. I can do that though, easy enough. There we go. Yeah, I actually have a little bit of a problem with this. It's not, for some reason, I got something that's not quite right. See that? Somehow or other, this didn't work out. Oh, there it is. No, it's a broken piece. That's what it is. Okay, I can get rid of that. I can get rid of that. Delete. Yeah, broken piece. This might even be a broken piece over here, too. Yep, it is. Okay, we're good. This is the problem with this, and what you should really be doing is you should be really coming in and taking a closer look at this, because there are tiny little bits that it just slices this all up into crazy pieces. Now this guy here, I could probably do this quicker this way. Yeah, see? You see how it broke it in half?
But isn't that part of the circle?
Yeah, but for some reason it has a little bit of a mind of its own. It does kind of what it wants to do. I have no idea why it broke it the way it broke it, but it did, and I have to deal with it.
That was from the circle that you drew.
Yeah.
That's why it broke there.
Well, I don't know, because the circle I thought went beyond it. I thought the circle went beyond it. So I don't know, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe look at the one on the bottom, your completed one.
What?
Maybe look at your completed one at the bottom. See what it looks like compared to what you're working on.
Go to the view menu, fit artboard and window. Yeah, see, I see what I'm doing. I'm messing up. It was the circle. You're right. Edit, undo, clear.
Yeah.
See, this is what I'm saying. You got to be careful with this. Undo, clear. I got to go back. Undo, clear. You're right. That's what I'm doing. It is the circle. You're absolutely right. This can be very, very tricky. And, yeah, I got to go back a little bit. Edit, undo, clear. Undo, clear. Clear. There we go. That's a little bit better. Now we're getting there. And this is, like you said, it's a circle. That's it. I just got to delete these guys, and I got to leave those other ends. When I get done with them, let me get back in here, because now I got it. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's what the problem was. And that right there. And it's going to be this side that I'll have that problem on. The other sides I don't think will be quite as problematic. But there we go. We got it now. Oh, nope, that one I think we can leave. And then we're going to come in here.
Also,
What?
you do the same thing in the eye.
Yeah, you think so? Let's see.
D4 circle.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Look at it. Huh?
We all learn, right?
Well, you know, like I said, I haven't done this in a long time, and but I thought it was a really nice exercise to show you how to go about doing this and creating an interesting logo. We're almost there now, actually. Just a few more of these guys, and we're going to be home free. And it's that one. And was there any more? Yep, there is. Delete. And is there any more here? You see something? No, that's it. So there you go. This thing here's got this little end here. I don't quite know what that is. Let me see what we got. I don't know why that's sitting there like that. Heck is it? Object, unlock all. Well, it's not locked. I don't know what that is.
Circle.
There's something, see, there's something there that's stuck there. Well, anyway, I don't know what that is. I don't know. That's a piece of something, and it doesn't seem to want to select. I probably can get rid of it by moving this whole thing. Let's see if I can get rid of it by moving it. Nope, it's stuck to it. It appears to be stuck to it. Yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway, there you have the logo. And as you can see over here, I got a problem too because I threw away a piece of that as well. But I think you get the general idea of this. This is more or less how you create this thing. There's probably one more line up here that I got to go after. It's probably, let's see what we got. There we go. That's the one I want gone. Delete that. And then I want Control Z. Yeah, so actually, edit undo. I don't want to get rid of that. I guess I want to get rid of that one. Delete. And this one.
Oh no.
Delete. Let me see. View, artboard and window. And actually, I threw that. Yeah, see, I think what I did was, let's see something. Well, anyway, I think you get the general idea of this. I didn't do it as perfectly as I did here. But the important thing is that you understand that you can take simple elements and by playing around with just a few tricks. I mean, what did I do? I just basically created a blend, object, blend, make, object, blend options, and then, of course, object, blend, made. I blended a group of objects. I took a line, just created a line, turned the line into a stroke, gave the stroke some weight. I guess it was like around 4 or 5, and it was probably a little bit more. Gave it some weight, 6, and object, path, outline, stroke. I outline the stroke. I zoom in. I use my direct selection tool to modify the shape again. You know, actually, I'm going the wrong way. Actually, that's probably what I did. I probably tilted it as well. Anyway, there's my shape. So now you're just creating a series of shapes. And by using the window pathfinder, what I did was I divided everything up, and then I attempted, which I wasn't completely successful to do. Probably should have started from the top and went down. That's probably what I should have done. But hey, you know what? It's close enough. You get the idea. That's the important thing. This is the final result. This is what you're working for. And as a matter of fact, I actually think in this case here, I had the lines going the other way. I think what I originally did was I took this thing and I went over here and I choose the reflect tool, okay? And I reflected it along the horizontal axis, or the vertical axis. Yeah, and hit OK. And that's, I think, actually how I got that line, because you see it's thicker over here and it's thinner over there. So I did that wrong too. I didn't actually reverse it. So I made a couple of errors on it, but I think it's close enough that you get the general idea. That's how I made the logo. Any questions? Did you learn anything new? Did you see anything new?
A lot.
Yeah?
Yes, a lot.
Even with my
Yeah,
clumsy delivery, did you get anything out of it?
Yes.
Good. Good. Well, okay. What we're going to do tomorrow night is more work on logos. I have some more stuff that I'm going to do. We got 10 minutes. I'm going to basically let you guys have the last 10 minutes. You can talk about anything you want to talk about. You can ask me anything that you want. Completely up to you. So go ahead. You got anything at all you need to know or want to know or anything?
What kind of logos do you want us to use? Anything?
I want you to use your own creativity. This is where you really should have some fun. If I were doing this, I would first off try to figure out what kind of a business that I would want to work with. Since you're not going to be working with a business like mine, which is Firma. I mean, if somebody came to you and said, Eric, Francis, Melissa, Sherry, make me a logo for Firma. How excited do you think you'd be?
Not very.
Right.
Well, I don't even know what perma is.
Well, that's the other thing too. I mean, I made this logo after being with these guys for a month. So one thing I did know about them was that they sold flooring and cabinetry. So they have hardwood flooring and they sell hardwood cabinets. So, you know, that's helpful. And I did see two logos that they had, but the logos were pretty terrible because they were produced by an office worker. And, you know, the guy wasn't really a designer and, you know, they weren't really great logos. So I didn't think that I had a really tremendous job to try to do better than, you know, what they did. But, you know, it was still a challenge. And the other one was signature, and signature was for cabinetry. The word signature, actually, I thought was a better word because signature gave me some kind of an idea. You know what I mean? When I think of signature, I think of something that's kind of exclusive. When somebody puts a signature to something, you know, you're doing it with pride. So you can be very scripty and elaborate. You'll see when I come tomorrow night what I'm talking about because I actually have an example to show you of the one that they picked. So I didn't have nearly as much trouble as I had with Firma. Firma was more difficult. The other thing, too, is Firma already existed, whereas Signature did not. So I was actually creating a brand new logo for Signature where I was redoing a logo where there was some bias for Firma. So, you know, it was a tricky situation. The whole thing was tricky. It worked out okay, and I enjoyed it very much. It was a really fun challenge to do that. But again, when you pick your own, what I would do is I would think about it a little bit. I have no idea. First of all, think of a product or a service that you'd be comfortable working with. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a service. It could be a product. It could be a company that produces a product. So come up with a name for a company that has a product or a service that you think you can work with. And write the name down and think about it. Look at it and decide, you know, what kind of type am I going to use? What kind of logo am I going to use? You have 5 different types of logo. What kind of logo? What would I be most comfortable working with the skill level I have? See, the thing is, I don't know any of you. Eric, I don't know. There's something about your name. Where have I had you before? Did you come into the blackboard or something? Because that name is so familiar, Eric Scott.
I don't think so. I don't think I've met you before.
Okay. Well, name is very familiar. Must be another Eric Scott I knew.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of us out there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, just pick something that you're going to be comfortable working with. And again, I really don't know what your skill level is with Adobe Illustrator. I'm fairly comfortable with it. I've worked with it for a very long time, and I kind of enjoy working with it. So I mean, for me, it's a lot of fun to do this. So, and just keep in mind that there's tons of fonts. Try to use classic fonts. Try not to use things that are too weird. Think about longevity when you design this. Is this going to be something that's going to last 20 years? My logo is going to last 20 years. Is it going to be something that will last that long? You know, that's what you need to be asking yourself. Is it too much? Did I go too far? Too many things? Too complicated? Too this? Too that? Did I not do enough? And I would say probably try working in black and white first. I would say probably try working in black and white first. If you can make something work nice in black and white, you'll probably be a lot better off. Okay?
Do you want us to draw this or actually take somebody's logo?
What do you mean take somebody's logo?
Like say, I don't know, IBM for instance.
All right. If you were going to do IBM,
Yourself or
okay, well, no, let's use IBM as an example. If you decided that you were going to do IBM, what I would do is I would go online and I would download a copy of IBM's logo. You could go online and look for IBM logo vector art. And I guarantee you'll find examples of the IBM logo in vector art. Grab the thing, bring it into Illustrator. Don't trace it, but sit it there and look at it and decide, what am I going to do with this logo? What am I going to do to make this logo still say IBM, but take it to the next level? That's what you want to do.
okay.
And if you want to draw something, if you want to sit down and sketch something on paper, I don't do that very often anymore because I've gotten so used to working on the computers that I just basically go in and start thinking along the lines of what I have. What kind of fonts? Where am I heading with the font? Once I start picking fonts, I look at several different types of fonts and make some choices and then eliminate a few things and then go from there. I might look around and see if I have come up with some colors that I like. You know, that's how I do it. I generally stay right within the program Adobe Illustrator. And just so that you know, Adobe Illustrator is really the right program for this.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
No.
Okay, then you know what? Good luck to all of you, and hopefully you'll come back and see me tomorrow night, okay?
I'll be
Thank
here.
you very much.
All right, very good. You have a good night, everybody.
Too.
All right,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Yes, bye.
Bye-bye now, all.